Hey everybody, Tim here with tonight's episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 21, Symbiosis. Now, on the YouTube side, not so much the Facebook side, but the YouTube side, a lot of you have asked for, about my husband Jordan, and like a cameo appearance, which I thought was great, because it's a stupid TV term. So I decided, out of all the episodes of Season 1, to go for this episode, because I love this episode. So for tonight, we have special co-host, my husband Jordan.
Hi everybody.
Now, Jordan is probably the least geekiest person ever, like opposites attract, and so I kind of forced him to watch this episode, like tooth and nail. But I really like this episode, and I think it has an important message, and I think it's just a great episode overall, in general. Now, my first favorite trivia fact that I just want to jump into right away is this episode's about a druggee and a drug dealer. And the druggee is played by, you guys know I'm terrible with names, Tasha, and he's played by Merritt Butwick, who is in the Wrath of Khan movie. He was the character of he was the actor that played the character of Kirk's son, David. Now, the actor actually died shortly after this episode due to HIV complications, so it's kind of sad. And then the drug dealer of this episode is Sobe. That character is played by Judson Scott, who he wasn't Khan's son, but he was kind of Khan's right-hand man in The Wrath of Khan as well. So it's kind of interesting to watch those two like second-hand characters be rejoined or reunited for this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. So I thought that was really cool. That was really interesting. So all of that being said, I really liked this episode. I thought it was really, really well done. So this episode came out I think we're still in 1987. We might be in 1988 by now. And so it's not unknown that there's a lot of drug issues going on right now. And I felt like Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek The Original Series has a lot of allegories. It's like a lot of race allegories and just a lot of stuff in general that they're a little bit hidden, but they're also kind of blatant. And this episode is right in your face, where it's clearly all about drug use. Now, for you, did you kind of get that? Like,
oh, yeah, definitely. I was going to say, it was definitely an allegory about Coke, that's for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I was going to say, the alien chick, I forgot what planet, the drug dealer chick, when she's explaining that this plant is from a remote location on their planet, they have to harvest it a certain way, they have to make it so it's more potent and everything. Just a certain way that she explains on how they get this plant and everything, it definitely, it screamed Coke to me, that's for sure.
And actually, I completely agree. Like, once you start getting into, like, the main part of the episode, it's definitely kind of that. Like, at first, I will totally admit, like, I loved the opening scene of this because so we live in Washington, Oregon area, the west coast of the U.S., where marijuana is legal where we are. And so in the first part of this episode, when Picard and Riker are on the bridge and they're talking to Tasha, and they're like, your warp drive is going out. And he's just like, yeah, that's great. And they're like, well, we're going to beam aboard
we're going to beam you down a coil.
Yeah, the coil. Thank you. Yes. He's like, we're going to beam you the coil. Do you know how to install it? And he's like, no. And they're like, how long have you been captain? Like 7 years. Picard and Riker are like, what the actual fuck is happening? And it's totally just a stoner moment. And like, I mean, I've known a lot of people, and it's just, I was laughing. I was like, this is a great episode. And then like, it takes that twist after the first act. And they start going through withdrawals. And after they start hitting withdrawals, I've known a lot of people who have done drugs, and it's difficult to watch people go through withdrawals. And even this, like the acting, I thought was really well done. I thought they convey the act of withdrawals really, really well.
I would say, yeah, for the most part, like especially the scene where when they're talking to, I think it's like the president of their planet. Mm-hmm. They see how bad they're suffering on the planet, and like at that point in time, he's like, "Hey, I forgot what the one guy's name is on the Star Trek, but he like goes to like kill him, and he's like, I'm gonna kill him," and Picard's like, "You're not a killer," and I mean that right there, like they're desperate, they want their drugs, and so he was turning, even though Picard called him out on it, he was willing to go that far.
Yeah, and I mean, I've known people personally that like you see them and they get to that certain point and they're desperate. It's an act of desperation.
It's really sad.
And I felt like that's why this is one of my favorite episodes, is because they do such a good job with that showing the desperation of drug use. And I really commend Star Trek for doing this episode in general because of how well they did. That being said, one of my favorite lines from this whole episode that has to do with the drug and the withdrawals and stuff is, you don't do drugs not to feel good, but to keep from feeling bad. Mm-hmm. And like that line spoke to me so much. And it's like, it's just kind of a heartbreaking episode. And I felt like the whole acting, everything about this episode was really on point. To kind of continue with that allegory, this could be me reading too much into it,
probably.
But yeah, but with the allegory, like you get to the end of the episode and everything's done, and they're like, "So where do you want to go from here?" And Picard's like, "I don't even care." Like he has no,
just get away.
Yeah,
just go.
Yeah, and he has no destination, which for people who are on drugs kind of have that. Like there's no destination. They just want to keep from feeling bad. And so I felt like the allegory completely played out all the way through. Let's see, I got so many notes for this episode because it's such a good episode. One more nerdy reference that he's not going to care about. So Tasha Yar, it's the actress that played her had a lot of difficulty for this season because she didn't feel like she was being appreciated, and she just didn't feel like she was being used. And they filmed this episode, and then afterwards when they were done, she read the script for the next episode. Or no, I'm sorry. They filmed Skin of Evil, which is the next episode, and that's where they kill her off. Spoiler. And then she read the script for the next episode, which was Symbiosis, and she's like, "That's such a good script. Can I do that one too?" And Gene Roddenberry let her do it. And then he's like, "But don't worry, we'll broadcast that episode first, and then Skin of Evil second for continuity and stuff." And she's like, "That's awesome." And so, random trivia fact: in the very final scene, you see Picard and Dr. Crusher leaving the transporter room, and she's kind of in the background, and then she starts waving, and that's like her final. Did you even notice that?
Yeah, actually, I did.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of hard, but like she starts waving, and you're just like, "Oh, hey, look, that's her waving goodbye to the fans." So there's that. Now I want to ask Jordan's opinion on this. So one of the best parts about this episode is the Next Generation kind of cemented the Prime Directive. They started introducing it in the final parts of the original series, where in the original series, Kirk had said that the Prime Directive is just don't interfere with pre-warp cultures, and that's it. In the Next Generation, they've kind of adapted it to don't interfere, period. And we saw that in the episode Justice early on in this season, where Wesley stepped on some flowers and was sentenced to death. So for this one, I love the ending in this because the drug dealers know that the druggies are addicted to this and they don't actually need it. But Picard's not allowed to tell them that. And then at the end, everybody's expecting everything to go back to normal, and Picard's like, "Nope, I'm not giving you the coils anymore." And they're like, and the drug dealers are suddenly like, "Whoa, what are you talking about?" Like,
you're interfering now.
Yeah, they're like, you need to give them the coils so that way they can keep getting their shipments. And Picard's like, "Prime Directive, I'm not giving it," and knowing that their culture is going to realize it. How did you feel? Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, and I had a little bit of an issue because, personally me, I'm a problem solver. If I see a problem and I know how to solve it, I'm going to just say it. So for me to have a rule where even if I see a problem and I can't say nothing about it, that was definitely, I felt good on his part because he stayed true as his captain. But at the same time, I also like where he told them, because they had two ships that are still working on the planet, they just don't know how to fix them. And so Picard is kind of more teaching them, you can do stuff, you're just so addicted to drugs right now and you're so strung out that you can't think straight. You have the stuff to fix your ships, you're just too stupid to do it right now. And so it's one of those. It's like when they're leaving, and the one alien guy's like, "I hope you know what you're doing to my planet." Picard's thinking, he's like, "I know exactly what I'm doing to your planet. It's gonna suck, but you guys are gonna evolve from this.
You'll make it through."
Exactly. It's gonna suck, but you'll get through it.
That's great. But yeah, so overall, I love this episode. I thought this was really great. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of season 1. And special third co-host, Low Belly. I love this episode. Season 1, it's no secret, this is a rough season for The Next Generation, but it keeps getting better, and I really like this episode. For those that have seen this episode, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys feel about the allegories and the metaphors, especially being this blatant. If you guys want to talk about drug use, if you guys want to even just talk about like problems you guys have had, go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for the YouTube subscriptions. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you guys for the comments. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you to my co-host, husband, and Low Belly. Do you have anything?
No, not really. I watched Star Trek, and it's been a long time. I did enjoy this episode. Other than that, like Tim said before, I'm the least geekiest person ever. But for him, I'll watch an episode of Star Trek for him.
Okay. And for those who care, I'm going to try to get him to watch Measure of a Man. My goal is to get him to watch at least one episode a season. Measure of a Man's next. So if you guys have any other recommendations to kind of rope him into Star Trek, leave those in the comments below also. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the famous Tasha Yar episode, Skin of Evil.